Hi, I'm John and welcome back to my Lair of Action Figures, where I'll be talking and reviewing action figures from different manufacturers. Continuing in my G.I. Joe classified series, and after the review of Storm Shadow, I said I will be reviewing the G.I. Joe Albert Alpine Pine, who's a bit of a funny name for him, but this is the Alpine figure from the G.I. Joe classified series. This figure came out in 2024 and was at a suggested retail price of $24.99. Or if you are in Europe, you would be paying them $29.99. So of course, this is number 133 in the line. As you can see, he does come with a little drawing, and of course we have a little picture of him hanging around over there. And as you can see, there's a few details. Over here we have a QR code who is outdated, some info that we don't care about. Hasbro, bring back the classified series cards for these guys. This would make a lot of sense. Now let's dive into the history of this figure. So I was talking about history. Here comes out my Mountain Trooper Alpine from 1986, if I'm not mistaken, because no, 1985. Who's a bit of a surprise because normally, 1985, sorry. I'm always focused on 1986 because I love so much those figures from those years. So, of course, I'm going to have a closer look. As you can see, there's a lot of inspiration coming from this figure over here. As you can see, he has a rifle with a grappling hook who throws the cable. He has this item over here to help him climb. He has some more cord behind. He has a backpack. And he also has a small Italian machine pistol that you can see over here. So, of course, when we be looking at it, he comes from Idaho. So he does have that T-shirt underneath who's called back to the file card. Hey, Hasbro, remember, file cards are needed with your classified series. So remember, I know I'm repeating myself, but these are really needed. So this is the figure. He was pretty interesting. He did came out in Europe under the G.I. Joe series. Of course, if you were in England, you would know him as Action Force, because the first year or 2 years that Hasbro released the G.I. Joe series, they were known under Action Force in England, and then afterwards they decided to change it and put it all into G.I. Joe. Now, I do have the 25th anniversary version of him somewhere in the warehouse, but I do not have access to the warehouse, and I forgot to take it with me. I have plenty of other boxes that I took to do the other reviews, but that was a there was a triple set of figures, or 4 figures with a DVD. I'll be doing a review of those boxes, and then you will be able to see that figure then, or there will be some pictures posted up to the Facebook page or into Instagram, so you can go and check it out. Those links will be in the description. Anyway, I digress. Let's get back into the talking about this figure, and let's see what we get in this box. Well, I guess we know what we get in the box due to the fact that this is a blister box, but anyway, let's have a closer look. Of course, we get the figure, we get a hat, we get some goggles, we get a grappling gun, we get a rifle, we get 2 climbing sticks over here, and we also get a grappling with some cord. So, I mean, this is pretty basic. It's coming undone. I'm going to leave it like this because I'm not going to go into much details. As you can see, it is pretty simple. The hat itself is a good reproduction of the one that he had back in 1985. The figure itself does have some interesting features, like he has a washed out t-shirt, who's an interesting. He has the extra climbing gear over here. He does have a small harness. He has a little back over here to put his kind of cornstarch or flour over here to help him climb. Getting into that a bit later on. Of course, we have a cord around him over here, which is exactly what we had back in the days also. So you can see the figure itself is pretty basic. The only little thing that they did is calling back to the fact that he's from Idaho. So, of course, that's a nice callback. Now, when I'm looking at this head sculpt, this guy reminds me of a scoundrel from a galaxy far, far away, and this guy gives me vibes of a young Lando Calrissian. So, yeah, I do think that the figure looks a bit like him. Does give me that kind of vibe. You can tell me in the comment section if you agree or disagree, or do you think he looks like somebody else? you might know, but as you can see, the head sculpt is pretty neat, the paint job is pretty neat, and all of that is pretty neat on the figure. Anyway, let's continue with the review. So let's go on to the parts that we already know. These, if you've been following the channel, you already have seen them. These are the weapons that were given with the Heli Viper. This is the one who goes to the backpack, and this is his extra rifle that he gets. Of course, this does come out. We're not going to go into too much detail. I do like this rifle. I think it's a pretty good choice for him, due to the fact that it does not have too much of a connotation. It could make sense that G.I. Joe would use it as much as Cobra. It's more of a generic machine gun. Of course, we have his two hooks over here to do some climbing, who's a bit interesting. Now, it's nothing. Paint job is pretty neat also on it, and the fact that you have some Scotch tape on one. They did some little details on it who are pretty nice, and you can highly appreciate those little details over here. As you can see, there's a bit of a hook over here, and that's where I have some ideas where this go. Of course, you have his goggles, so you could do like he was back in the days, because you couldn't remove those. Neither the 25th anniversary figure would have this, but you can fit this on his face and should put the cap on. Cap fits really nice. Really great thing that they did with it. Over here, what I figured out is maybe you can hook this over here, or maybe on the smaller ones. They do work, have a tendency of holding. I don't know if this was intended for that to be in this way, but this is the best way I found the use for it, of these little hooks behind, and I was hooking up all of this kind of stuff behind. As you know, the biggest issue with this figure is that he does not come with a backpack. I mean, it's kind of crazy that somebody who's doing some alpinism doesn't have a backpack. I mean, they even put the hole on the back to be able to slide in a backpack. So Hasbro, you forgot it. So that's going to be a bit of a downer point for you on my final thoughts and what do I think about this figure. Now let's get into the part, do I believe that this figure is a collectible item, and what are my final thoughts and my note out of 10 of this figure. Now, as a collectible item, well, if you were lucky to live in the US, this figure went in clearance not a long time ago at a super low price. I was even hesitating to I canceled my order with Hasbro Pulse to get it from Walmart because they were down to $10 a figure or $11. Can't remember exactly. So that does put it as a bit of a bummer that I didn't do it. But when I saw it, again, being in Switzerland, depending where it is, I have a 9 to 6 hours in advance on you. So let's say it's midday in the US, it's going to be 6 p.m. in Switzerland. So, of course, if that comes out later on, I'm going to miss it. But for the people in America, the American collectors out there, I guess they could have taken advantages to pick this figure up for $10. And you could go and buy some accessories from Gridiron Studio, but that's going to be for it. I don't think this figure is going to be so high value collectible, because I believe that when he's going to come out in the retro line, he's going to have a lot more value, because I'm sure that Hasbro is going to give him a backpack, something who is cruelly missing. Of course, if you paid him $10, like I said, and you could want to go and pick him up from Gridiron Studio, did some extra gear for him. But again, though, that gear is pretty expensive, so if you have to pay like $30 plus tax and shipping for a figure, then you have to put another $30 to $40 for the accessory. This brings it up as a very expensive figure. So if you did get it for $10 from Walmart and decided to pick up Gridiron Studios equipment, well, that could be a nice add and brings up to a figure who would be a lot cheaper. Now, I haven't purchased anything from Gridiron Studio. I'm planning to do it once when I get the time to do it or the cash to do it, because it is pretty expensive and I have to combine with other things. So I don't know if I would be picking it up. So that we got the value, if I think this is a valuable item as a collector. Now let's dive into my final thoughts. Of course, like I said, the figure, the fact that it has a missing backpack, that the 25th anniversary line did have it, and they gave it to him. I don't understand why they didn't give him the backpack. For me, this was a bit rushed. I would have even preferred to have a backpack instead of getting this, or even getting these two rifles. the grappling hook gun and this, give me a Uzi to go with it, and give me a backpack, because the backpack is something who's cruelly missing with this figure. So for that reason, and not only that, I have another big quarrel with this figure, and you know it if you've been watching my reviews. These guys are supposed to be tier 1 operators. I know I sound like a broken record, but where the hell is his secondary weapon? He should have a pistol, he should have a holster, should he have also a small knife, he should have all those little accessories. They've been made by Hasbro. They could throw it in on it, and it's not going to cost them that much money. We'll be talking about that when we're going to be doing the Sergeant Slaughter review, and you will understand why I'm talking about it. They could have thrown the holster, a pistol, a small knife, and a place to store the knife. This could have been done very easily. So I'm sorry for that little rant about it, but I do truly think that Hasbro is giving more love to Cobra and giving more gear to Cobra than they're giving to G.I. Joe, so I don't know what's going on there. Maybe it's true Hasbro did get infiltrated by Cobra at the time the launch of the Sky Striker, and that's the reason why for G.I. Joe is not getting the love it deserves. So anyway, little joke put aside about that. This is why I'm going to give this figure a 6 out of 10. As I said, pretty disappointing, the fact of not getting all this gear that should be coming with it. So this is why I'm going to be very happy to see when this figure is going to come out in the retro line. Hopefully they're going to correct the mistakes that they did with this figure. So that's going to be it for the review of my Alpine figure from the G.I. Joe Classified series. If you like this video, please leave a like, share, comment in the section. If you want to help the channel, subscribe to the channel. You can also go to my Facebook page, Instagram page, or X to go and see the pictures, follow the news, and other cool stuff that I have going on over there. Until then, I hope you have a fantastic day, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!